The movie starts with a quiet teenage boy named Calvin Cal Chetley. He lives in a suburb in Oklahoma with his mother, Sharon. Cal spends most of his time reading and studying, which helps him do very well in school. At school, Cal keeps to himself and doesn't have many friends. The only people close to him are his neighbor Luli, who he grew up with, and his classmate Donald, who is even worse at making friends than Cal. Even though Cal is close to his mother, he often feels like something is missing. A father figure. When Cal was very young, his father Mac, a famous wrestling champion, died in a car accident. Cal was too young to remember much, but he knows his family was never the same after that. Cal's older brother Mike was affected the most. Mike had followed their father's path and became a wrestling champion too. He and their father used to do everything together. After their father died, Mike couldn't handle the loss. Over time, he became angry and often argued with their mother, even though she was trying her best to keep the family together. In the end, Mike left home and never came back. Sharon was heartbroken to lose both her husband and her son, but she stayed strong and kept hoping that one day her family would be together again. As the years passed, Cal absorbed everything around him and grew into an observant, responsible young man who preferred books to peers. That quality served him well. In middle school, he won a geology competition, and rather than spending the prize money the way most boys his age would, he used it to start a catfish farm that quickly became successful and helped support both himself and his mother, who couldn't have been prouder. One afternoon, while fishing at a local lake, trying to figure out how to fix a broken water pump for his farm, Cal is attacked by the school bully. Billy Marrow, angered by Cal's attempt to defend himself, Billy shoves him to the ground and takes off. As Cal tends to his wounds, an old fisherman named Red seems to appear out of nowhere. He praises Cal's courage and offers him a piece of advice.
Maybe. But you stood up to it.
Yeah.
Cal returns home, nurses his bruises, and as he always does when he's feeling low, takes out his memory box. He slowly flips through old photographs of his father, rereads the accident report, and quietly wonders how different his life might have been if Mac had lived. When he hears Sharon arrive home from work, he quickly puts everything away and goes out to greet her. Determined to hide his pain, she immediately spots his injuries.
Did somebody hit you? Tell me who, Calvin.
Wow, what are you gonna do? Pop a cap in his butt?
I could.
Oh, then we have to move.
Where would you like to move to?
Meanwhile, a few counties over in Muskogee, Mike is working on an oil rig when he receives some bad news. Real sorry, Mike, but I've got to let you go. We've hit TD on this one. Back home, the more Cal thinks about Mike and his late father, the more he misses them, and the more intensely he feels the need to connect with both. After a long period of soul-searching, he finds the one thing that could bridge that gap, wrestling. But knowing everything Sharon has been through and how deeply she resents the sport for consuming the two most important men in her life, Cal keeps the idea to himself. For the next few weeks, he tells his mother he has extracurricular activities after school and slips away to the school gym, not to join the team, but to sit quietly in the back, studying every practice session with the same focus he brings to his schoolwork. He shares his new interest with Luli, who has long had a crush on him and is grateful for her support. Then, one day, he decides it's time to take the next step.
Put that down, take those off. Follow me in a minute.
The coach pairs Cal with Billy as his training partner and tells him to take it easy on the newcomer. Billy does the opposite. He uses the session as an opportunity to beat Cal without mercy until the coach steps in.
You guys have some kind of history between you?
Yeah, Coach. I think Chetley here is interested in my mother.
That night over dinner, Cal can no longer keep the secret. He tells Sharon he has joined the wrestling team and that he's been dieting and monitoring his weight to stay at 135 pounds. Where'd you get that scale? Donald had an extra one. Sharon sits with what her son has shared. She understands his need to feel closer to his father and to Mike through wrestling. But she's terrified all the same. She watched the sport consume two of the most important men in her life, and she can't bear the thought of losing Cal to it too. She also warns him gently that he hasn't seen Mike in nearly a decade, that he doesn't really know his brother the way he thinks he does, and that he shouldn't count on Mike to help him reconnect with their father's memory. Cal hears every word, but he can't fully accept it. A few days later, desperately hoping his mother is wrong, he tracks down Mike's address and decides to visit. He tells Sharon he's staying at Donald's and takes the bus to Muskogee, his mind filled with questions the entire way. He finds the house, knocks, and is let in by one of Mike's friends. What he finds inside is nothing like what he imagined. Mike is startled to see his little brother standing there. But that's about it. There's no warmth, no flood of emotion. He looks at Cal the way you'd look at someone you barely know and asks flatly what he's doing there. Cal swallows his disappointment and gives his brother the benefit of the doubt, reasoning that an unexpected reunion like this must be difficult for Mike too. He shares his decision to join the wrestling team and asks for help.
I think I could be good with the right kind of training, just the basics.
Cal, I'm just real busy right now.
And heads home, feeling for the first time that his mother may have been right all along. Meanwhile, Mike sits frozen on the couch for hours after Cal leaves, confronting the painful truth that he has nothing to offer his younger brother and everything to be ashamed of in himself. Elsewhere, Sharon goes to the school and speaks to the coach, unable to stay quiet any longer.
I've already lost one kid to the sport. I don't want to go through it again.
The coach listens, understands, and gently talks her out of pulling Cal off the team. He promises to keep a close eye on him. Across town, crushed by his visit to Mike, Cal goes to the lake to clear his head and runs into Red. He tells the old fisherman everything. I want to wrestle, wrestle. A few days later, a 135-pound wrestler from the school team gets injured during a match, and Cal suddenly finds himself in an impossible position.
I'm Timmy's backup. I'm the same weight class.
Desperate, he calls Mike's house. No answer. Only Mike's girlfriend. He begs her to pass on the message. He'll be wrestling that Friday. He spends the whole week hoping to hear back. Friday comes without a word. At the weigh-in, Cal takes one look at his opponent, and his confidence crumbles. In the stands, Sharon, who showed up despite her reservations, pauses in the hallway beside the school's wall of fame, staring at Mike's name, his trophies, and his achievements. She stands there a long moment, lost in thought about her firstborn. At the match, just as Cal feared, he is beaten badly and loses. His coach tells him it gets easier. Cal isn't so sure. He considers quitting, but he's backed into a corner because he's the only wrestler on the team at his weight class. Match after match, he is beaten and humiliated on the mat. In Muskogee, Mike, jobless and without prospects, wanders into a local bar one afternoon to kill some time. An aggressive man picks a fight and throws the first punch. Mike defends himself effectively, but the authorities don't bother examining the details. Mike ends up in jail. Back at school, Cal asks Donald for an honest assessment of his wrestling. You haven't officially wrestled in enough matches to be considered the worst wrestler in the region. Ouch. Come on, Donald, as the boys leave school. Billy intercepts them and mocks Mike's fall from grace in front of everyone, shoving a local newspaper in Cal's face. Chetley, 28, arrested and charged with major assault. Cal goes to the lake to fish and think. Red is there, and after listening, offers one quiet piece of wisdom.
If you need your brother, I can promise you that he needs you. Now, he may not know it like you know it, but he does.
That's all Cal needs to hear. The next morning, he's up before dawn, borrows Luli's scooter, tells his mother he has to get to school early, and speeds to the courthouse in Muskogee. When the judge prepares to rule on Mike's case, Cal asks to speak on his brother's behalf. I'm going to give you my word that you won't see either one of us in your courtroom ever again. Mike is visibly moved. Afterward, the brothers go back to Mike's place and sit together for the first time in years.
What do you want?
I don't know. It's just been a lot of years.
I meant, what do you want to eat?
Oh.
That night, wanting to make up for lost time, Mike agrees to train Cal. And while a worried Sharon scrambles to track Cal down after not hearing from him all day, the two brothers begin something new. When Cal finally gets home and lies about where he was, Sharon lets it go. For now, the next day, Cal returns to the school gym, ready to rejoin the team.
Cal, we had to forfeit a match because of you. Screw up again and you're done. Do you understand each other?
Yes, sir.
All right, now get out there with the rest of them.
From that point on, Mike and Cal train hard together for weeks. As they push each other through grueling sessions, they begin to actually know each other. And to enjoy each other's company, Cal follows every pointer Mike gives him with complete dedication. When he notices Mike still hasn't found work, he quietly uses a connection from his geology class to get him a job. Mike is genuinely touched. Which one is the older brother again? Their bond deepens with every session. One evening, Mike admits to Cal, I just ain't used to getting that kind of help. As the next match approaches, Cal invites Mike to come watch. Mike pauses before answering. He's not ready to face their mother, or the locals, who will inevitably ask him what he's been doing since his glory days, and he has no answer to give them. On match day, Cal prepares the way Mike taught him. He stares his opponent down during the weigh-in, finds a quiet corner, puts in his earbuds, and grounds himself. Then he gets on the mat and wins comprehensively, using everything his brother has given him. What Cal doesn't know is that Mike couldn't stay away. He slipped into the building and watched from the hallway hidden from view. Beaming, Red was there too, seated quietly in the stands, filled with pride. And as the gym erupts, Mike slips back out through the halls of his old high school, haunted by the memories lining every wall. Over the following weeks, Cal keeps winning. Mike keeps showing up in secret, and as he watches his little brother improve, he begins making bigger plans. Serious enough to show me the reverse cradle? No. As the school dance approaches, Luli asks Cal to take her, and he says yes. At home, Sharon senses that something in their relationship has quietly grown strained, even though she's attended every one of Cal's matches. She reaches out to him, wanting him to know she's always in his corner. Cal assures her he's happy. Well, it must be working. You look good. But he still doesn't tell her about Mike. Not long after, Mike introduces Cal to a seasoned wrestler named Theo Nat Henderson, who joins their training. Cal pushes harder than ever, following his diet strictly, gaining visible strength and sharpening his technique. On the day of the dance, Sharon, knowing that Luli lives with her father and 4 brothers and rarely gets much of a feminine presence in her life, invites her over, helps her with her hair and makeup, and offers some motherly advice.
Let them know you have other options. Be confident. Don't chase, be chased. I wish.
Meanwhile, during training, Nat pulls Mike aside and checks in on him. Not as a trainer, but as a friend. He tells Mike to stay focused, keep his head clear, fight off the demons, and be the man his little brother believes he is inspired. Mike decides the time has come to show Cal the reverse cradle, the difficult move he'd been holding back. They spend hours working on it together. Later that night, Cal takes Luli to the dance, and the evening is going well until Billy corners Luli and starts in on her. Before she can even finish defending herself, Cal steps forward and puts Billy on the ground with barely any effort.
Get off me, man.
Cal and Luli walk home through the town, talking about everything, and before the night is over, they begin a relationship. Back in Muskogee, Mike decides to reward himself after weeks of hard work and heads to the local bar for a beer. He gets as far as holding the glass, then stops. He remembers the trouble, the promise he made to the judge, and the promise he made to himself. He puts the beer down, pays his tab, and walks out without taking a sip. The moment he steps outside, a group of men, friends of the man he beat last time, are waiting for him. Mike tries everything he can to defuse the situation without throwing a punch. It doesn't work. He defends himself, drops 2 of them, and then gets knocked out. The following evening, Cal arrives in Muskogee for training and finds Mike's place empty. He assumes Mike is busy, trains alone for a couple of hours, and heads home only to walk in on Sharon, speaking to Mike on the phone, her voice tight with anger. An argument erupts. Cal steps in and defends his brother. He tells Sharon Mike must have been set up, that he hasn't touched alcohol in over a month and then unable to hold it back any longer. Cal tells his mother the truth. Mike has been training him. Mike is the reason for every win.
Because he's my brother. I have the right to know my own brother.
What are you afraid of, Sharon? The house goes quiet. Sharon and Cal spend the next couple of hours on opposite sides of it, each trying to cool down. When the anger passes, Cal makes a decision. Even though he was too young to remember the details of his father's accident, he has long understood that all the hurt in this family traces back to that single event. He goes to his mother and asks her to tell him what really happened. Sharon gathers herself and begins. Mac was Mike's trainer. The 2 did everything together. One day, as they were preparing for an upcoming match, Mike had suggested driving to the next town to scout their opponent. Mac wasn't sure. Sharon had begged them to stay, but they went anyway, driving through snow, and lost control of the car. Mike was thrown clear. Mac died inside. Man, that's a lot of guilt to carry for one man. For Cal, the pieces finally fall into place. He sympathizes with his mother, who is still not fully healed, but his heart breaks most of all for Mike, who has spent a decade carrying that weight completely alone. In silence, punishing himself in every way he could, Cal finally understands the hollowness he saw in his brother's eyes that first day in Muskogee. A few days later, Cal and the team travel to Tulsa for regionals. Back home, Sharon finds she can't stop thinking about what Cal said. She decides to give Mike the benefit of the doubt. She tracks down witnesses from the bar, confirms that Mike was sober and that the fight was provoked, then speaks to the DA's office and Mike's parole officer and works out a deal. She drives to the jail to see her son.
I want my son back, but I still don't know how.
In Tulsa, with Donald and Luli cheering from the stands, Cal wins every match and makes the semifinals. But with his brother's case weighing on him, he can't bring himself to celebrate. He leaves his friends behind and heads home in Muskogee. Sharon picks Mike up from jail, drives him to his house, and steps inside for the first time. The bare, cold emptiness of the place stops her cold. She looks around at what her son has made of his life, the walls he's built, the way he's chosen to suffer, and something breaks open in her.
You don't belong here.
Maybe I do.
No, you don't.
Mike holds on to every word. Sharon opens her arms and pulls him close. The first real embrace they've shared since the tragedy. For a long moment, neither of them says anything. That night, Cal comes home to find his mother waiting. Mike is free, Sharon tells him. And then, to Cal's surprise, she encourages him to keep wrestling. She means it the next day at regionals. As the noise of the crowd fills the gym, Cal finds a quiet corner and tries to center himself the way he always does. But this time, the quiet works against him. He realizes, sitting there alone, that wrestling was never really the point. The matches, the wins, the weight class. None of it was what this was about. It was always about healing his family. And with both Mike and Sharon nowhere in sight, he suddenly feels like he has failed at the only thing that truly mattered. He grabs his bag and starts walking toward the exit. Red is standing right there. "I'm done. I didn't want this. Win, Cal. Just don't quit." Cal turns back. He goes to the bathroom, splashes water on his face, and returns to the arena. He scans the stands and finds Sharon sitting with his friends. Relief. But Mike's seat is empty. The questions start flooding in. Where is he? How can he miss this? Did the last few weeks mean nothing? The distraction shows on the mat. Cal is badly beaten through the first period of the match. He goes through the motions, waiting for it to be over. And then, just when things look the bleakest, he looks up and sees Mike walking through the gym doors in the team's colors, taking his seat without a word. That's all Cal needed. He flips the match completely. The crowd erupts. Cal wins in the break before the final. Mike rushes to his brother, and they celebrate together with the coach. "Good to see you, Mike. You too, coach. It's been a long time." Too long. Mike tells Cal to stay focused and give everything he has, then leaves him to his music to prepare. Meanwhile, Mike and Sharon find each other in the stands. As they talk and head back inside, Luli appears with a large gift box and asks Mike to give it to Cal before the final. Mike and Nat bring it to the locker room. Cal opens it and finds a small pump, a nod to the very first problem that brought Red into his life, and a personalized wrestling robe. Wow, that's beautiful too. When his name is called, Cal puts on the robe and is escorted to the mat by Mike and Nat, with Donald leading the way and making quite the entrance. As Cal prepares to step onto the mat, he notices Mike greeting Red from across the gym. He watches, puzzled, wondering how his brother knows the old fisherman. Then someone tells him, Red was Dad's coach. The final is everything it should be. Mike takes a seat beside the school's coach and is acknowledged over the PA system, welcomed back by the wrestling world he once belonged to. Cal gives every last thing he has. The crowd barely breathes. But after a few brutal minutes of wrestling, Cal's opponent wins by decision. Cal loses the title. As far as Cal is concerned, he has already won what truly matters. He runs to Mike, then hugs his mom Sharon, and his friend Luli, full of happiness and gratitude. Some wins are not about the match. When Mike joins his family in the stands, the crowd stands up and cheers. The applause is not just for today's match, but for everything Mike once was, and everything he gave to the sport. Mike takes it in, and for the first time in years, his face softens. Then something unexpected happens. Billy walks up to Cal, shakes his hand, and honestly congratulates him. Cal accepts it politely from a few rows away. Red watches quietly. Then he stands up and leaves the gym. He walks home in silence, finally feeling at peace. He has kept the promise he once made to Mac, to look after his family with Mike back by his side. Cal goes on to win 48 matches in his final year. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. See you in the next video.